Hey there everyone, I'm Meteorologist Jennifer Lambers with an update on your forecast, and we did just get that brand new 1 p.m. advisory update from the National Hurricane Center. So I did want to go ahead and give you the latest details on that. Just a reminder, in case you're joining us, we are live streaming on our YouTube channel, plus also on our Fox 10 Facebook page. You can also get these updates through our Fox 10 news app and also using the Fox 10 Gulf Stream. That'll be Apple TV, that'll be Roku, Fire Stick, just all of those ways to stay updated. We will continue to have these additional updates on air and online every 3 hours. So they're coming out at 1, 4, 7, and 10. So we did just get that brand new advisory update from the National Hurricane Center here at 10 p.m. And I will say, no major changes to this advisory update. In case you did miss it earlier, it was going to be that 10 a.m. advisory update that the National Hurricane Center, they had a hurricane hunter go in and investigate, and they found that it had strengthened, but also it had that center. It had formed that center. That's what we were waiting on. And so it was upgraded to Tropical Storm Helene at that 10 a.m. advisory update. Sustained winds, no change from that 10 a.m. to that 1 p.m. advisory update, still 45 miles per hour, and also tracking west-northwest at 12 miles per hour. So that speed is also staying the same. I think the only change there is that pressure. It dropped by 1 millibar. Now the location, it's moving a little bit closer towards Cozumel. At that 10 a.m. advisory update, it was 180 miles away. In the past 3 hours, it's moved 5 miles closer to Cozumel. Again, 175 miles east-southeast of Cozumel at this time. But let's go ahead and take a look at that track for what the National Hurricane Center currently has. And so again, expecting this system to move into the southern Gulf waters by tomorrow and strengthen. It has a thriving environment in the Caribbean Sea. Once it moves through the Yucatan Peninsula, moves into the southern Gulf, then it'll only have better environment out there. Really warm water temperatures, low shear that it's having to interact with. And so that's why that rapid intensification will occur heading into Wednesday into Thursday before that landfall approach towards the Big Bend region. And looking at the track and the path here, no major changes between that 10 a.m. advisory update to the 1 p.m. At the 10 a.m. they had shifted a little bit to the west, very minor amount. You could mainly just notice it with the Tallahassee letters. It used to be over more of those S's, then it went over that third A in the name. That was how we noticed that track closer towards Appalachia Bay. Here in the Fox 10 viewing area, none of our counties are included in that forecast path. Instead, the system is expected to make landfall to the east of us. So our impacts here locally in the Fox 10 viewing area in Mobile-Baldwin counties, the Florida Panhandle, our inland counties, our Mississippi counties, they'll be minimal. Really, the biggest things we'll notice will be at our local beaches as we get further along into the next few days. So by tomorrow, it'll bump up to moderate. By Thursday and Friday, it'll be high. So in case you're going to be visiting us here on the Gulf Coast, please just stay out of the Gulf waters. Life-threatening rough surf, possibly even seeing wave heights closer towards that 6 to 8 foot range once we get further along. So beautiful water conditions out there right now. It'll turn rough, however, as we get further along into the next few days. Now, I will say Futurecast models are staying pretty consistent with keeping that same landfall approach that the National Hurricane Center has highlighted, really just leaning in towards that Appalachia Bay, some pushing it closer towards Apalachicola, so just wanting to move a little bit towards the east, and then some even just pushing a little bit further towards the west too. So still right within that cone of what the National Hurricane Center has highlighted. None of those models pushing through the Fox 10 viewing area. So again, in case you're just joining us, you're watching from somewhere else, we are located here in Mobile, Alabama, but we cover all the way to Okaloosa County in Florida, which includes Destin. So here's a look at those tropical alerts. Already seeing some of those tropical storm warnings still in place near Cuba and also Mexico, so Cozumel, Cancun included in that. But for the U.S., we have seen that upgrade to the Keys now showing that tropical storm warning, but closer towards the Big Bend region, still in that watch. So tropical storm watch for Panama City and central Florida there. Tampa just on the borderline between showing that hurricane watch closer towards the coastal area. A little bit further inland, you're seeing more of those tropical storm watch, where tropical storm conditions are possible. So a little bit of difference there. None of us are included in that. It's mainly going to be that Big Bend region that does include Gainesville and Tallahassee in those watches for that hurricane watch there. Let's go ahead and run through some of the models. So this one is going to be the GFS model specifically. Just pulling that up wider there. So we start to see the center of Helene churning there just on the west side of Jamaica, pushing into the southern Gulf once we get into early tomorrow morning. Just really quickly, Taylor, I see your question there. When is it going to make landfall, this week or next week? It'll be this week. So just a little over 48 hours, probably about 60 hours is when we'll start to see that landfall approach heading into Thursday evening. So again, as we get further on into Thursday night, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, that's likely when we'll start to see the landfall closer towards the Big Bend region. So about 56 hours from now is likely when we'll see that landfall approach. So pretty quick moving, especially considering that the system is still in the northwestern Gulf. We're Tuesday right now, and it's only about 2 days away that we'll start to see that approach closer. So again, that is going to be this upcoming Thursday. And in case anyone else has any other questions for me, I am monitoring those comments here on the Fox 10 Facebook page with our Facebook Live. So also taking a look at our GFS Futurecast, we start to see that system churning in the southern Gulf there by Wednesday evening. Quickly moving through the Gulf waters. This is going to be 10 a.m. Thursday. We're seeing just some breaks in the rain here in Mobile, more of that closer towards Panama City, the Florida Peninsula, seeing some breaks, but really noticing more of that rain coverage building in. And then there's that landfall approach. So some notes here with the GFS model. This is typically something that we use. Euro and GFS are one of the two most used for tropical models. This one does have that landfall approach further towards the east than what the National Hurricane Center has for that current landfall track. Also, it has that timing pushed back a little bit. That center is still just offshore at 9 p.m. on Thursday. But as it mentions there in blue, this is just one model run, but really something to look at once we get closer. Still noticing that increased rain coverage closer towards Mobile here in Fox 10 area. Heading into Thursday evening, that's why we're going to see increased rain chances as we get towards Thursday. That'll be one of the main impacts. We have about 3 impacts here locally from Helene. It's going to be the rough surf that we'll be experiencing. It'll be some breezy winds, possibly gusts up to 30 miles per hour, and then also those increased rain chances. So taking a look at the sea surface temperatures, this is one reason why Helene is going to be thriving once it moves over the Gulf waters, is because it's so warm out there. If you've stepped outside, we did get a little bit of relief from Francine once that system moved through. It brought up some of the cold water. It cooled us down just a little bit, because before Francine, we were seeing the upper 80s. Now we're back down to the mid 80s, but if you step outside, it still feels very warm in the Gulf water. So that's reflective there, just more of that fuel that it needs as it pushes through to undergo that rapid intensification. Now, another thing that we're concerned about, meteorologist Matt Barentine is doing a great job at explaining this earlier this morning. If you were watching Fox 10 News, what we were seeing on Good Day Gulf Coast is the rainfall forecast with this system. Over the next 7 days, it's really just going to be dumping some of that rain towards portions of the southeast, especially closer towards Tennessee, the Carolinas, Georgia, the eastern side of Alabama, and even the Florida Panhandle there. So really just areas beginning to light up with that orange coloration. That'll be a concern, that flash flooding likely. You're already going to be experiencing some of that elevated storm surge towards the Big Bend region, Cape San Blas especially. I've been seeing that they're already evacuating some of the campgrounds in that area. Good call there. Especially with just the storm surge there mixed with more of that flash flooding likely. You're going to have the mountainous terrain closer towards Tennessee and Georgia that will be experiencing some of that rain, but it still needs somewhere to go traveling downstream. And so we're just noticing an overwhelming amount of rainfall and water just really beginning to accumulate in southern Georgia and the Florida Big Bend region over the coming days. So that'll be something to monitor. We'll still be dealing with those major hurricane force winds, but in addition to that, the rain that this system will be pushing in towards portions of the southeast. You can even see that rainfall coloration just extending up closer towards Kentucky, West Virginia also being highlighted, and the Boot Heel portion of Missouri. Now, as we do take a look into the upper atmosphere, some of the questions that we were getting is it going to come to us? Well, one of the questions that we had last week was the upper atmosphere, the steering, what's going to be pushing this towards us, away from us. And the good news is that there is steering. There is some things at play here that are going to be helping to push it away from the Foxton viewing area. And so we're starting off for this evening, and so we're getting closer towards Wednesday. So you can start to see just those blue tight circles moving into the Gulf. That's going to be the center of Helene there. Look towards Bermuda. That's where we start to see that ridge of high pressure beginning to appear. It's building in just a little bit stronger. And so that's going to be influencing Helene to get in and out of here pretty quickly. It has that clockwise rotation, so you can start to see some of those wind particles just wrapping around Bermuda in some of those little blue arrows that you see on the south side of that orange coloration. That's really helping get the system in and out of here. But if you look towards St. Louis, Nashville, and Dallas, it's very light on the screen there, but you can start to see some of those wind particles going down. They're pushing south. That's going to be an upper level low. And so that has that counterclockwise rotation. So you have counterclockwise and clockwise rotation just on both sides of this. So Helene is just going right in between the two different areas. It's really taking that path of less resistance in between the two, which is steering it closer towards that Big Bend region. So that upper level low over the Mid-South, that's what's helping us get it, having it push further away from us. And also the good news is that that ridge of high pressure not building in closer to have a push towards us. So that's going to be two of the steering acts at play. That's helping it get in and out quickly, and also is keeping it on that path, unfortunately, towards the Big Bend region. But for us here on the Gulf Coast, here in the Foxton viewing area, is keeping it further away from us. Now, also I wanted to point out too, if you saw this circulating on social media, you can start to see that's where over Nashville, that's going to be that upper level low. Here, I'm actually going to see if I can back it up just a little bit. There you go. You got two separate little circles right there. So if you saw it circulating on social media, they were talking about something called the Fujiwara effect. And that's a little bit of what we're seeing. It's two independent low pressure systems that are interacting with one another. And so they're actually rotating around each other. So I'm backing it up just a little bit. There you go. You can start to see them rotating just a little bit. And typically what can happen with the outcome of this is either they just wrap around each other and then they just go in opposite directions. So they just traject against, away from each other, or in the other scenario, they can absorb one another. And so that's exactly what's taking place with Futurecast models. They're in agreement for that scenario taking place. So for Helene to be absorbed into that upper level low that we're seeing over the Mid-South heading into the weekend. So really just an interesting takeaway from this that we're seeing. It's typically not something that we talk about in the Atlantic basin, especially at these latitudes. It's much more common in the Pacific. It was discovered back in 1921. But let's go ahead and talk more about our forecast here locally. And so the rip current risk, as mentioned, this will be the biggest thing that we are monitoring. Please stay out of the Gulf waters in case you're visiting us. They're beautiful today. It's fine today. Heading into tomorrow, it bumps up to moderate. By Thursday and Friday, it gets up to high. Life-threatening surf, wave height 6 to 8 feet. Please stay out of the water. The good news is by the weekend, it starts to improve. Saturday, we would drop down to moderate. That'll continue heading into Sunday. So it's really just going to be Thursday and Friday that we'll likely see our Gulf waters closed. A reminder, it's still open to surfers in case you still see them out there, especially closer towards Pensacola. That's where we typically see a lot of them make an appearance. Once those Gulf waters do close, we get some of those larger wave heights. But just stay out of the water, protect yourself. Most importantly, you're protecting others. That way they don't have to come in after you. I'm going to go ahead and show you a Futurecast Model 2. That's going to be showing just some of that timing. This will take us into tomorrow for some of the rain that we're tracking. So it starts off for today, isolated chances for showers just for our inland counties, Okaloosa County. Things still staying mostly quiet heading into today. However, more of that cloud cover builds in tonight. And then by tomorrow, we're starting off just a little bit gray and gloomy, seeing some of those clouds beginning to push in, looking like it could rain at any point. But the highest rain coverage will either be on the Florida Panhandle towards lunchtime, or for everyone else that's away from the center of the storm, really expecting our highest rain chances coming into play by tomorrow afternoon and evening. So we'll just start to see some of this coming in waves, higher rain chances for your Thursday. But by tomorrow, if you're doing stuff outdoors, you should be able to time it out. Just download the Fox 10 weather app. That way you have the radar and the Futurecast in the palm of your hand. It's not going to be a soaker all-day rain event for your Wednesday. We'll definitely see some breaks in the activity. We'll see longer rare breaks of not seeing anything, then we will see having more of those periods of rain. And also I want to go ahead and just break down again those local impacts. I've still been seeing a lot of questions online for everyone here locally: Mobile, Baldwin counties, Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, Pensacola, Destin, Navarre, Pascagoula. Really, that rough surf, that'll be our big concern here. That'll be again heading into tomorrow, but by Thursday and Friday it's still lingering, so those wave heights around 6 to 8 feet. We will see those increased rain chances ramping up Wednesday and Thursday. Highest chances coming into play on Thursday. And then breezy winds. I have those wind gusts getting up to around 30 miles per hour. Even then, that's still pretty generous. You'll just notice some of that as you step outside. Really, it might be feeling more on the pleasant side. We'll be seeing increased cloud cover. We'll see some cooler temperatures, a little bit on the breezy side. If you're down towards the beaches, it'll be nice, just that rough surf. Just take a stroll along the water. Look for some of those seashells. But we will continue to track Helene here on Fox 10 News. Again, we're covering the system. It's moving through the Gulf, but we are still expecting that landfall approach to be further towards the east from us. So our impacts, we are on the west side, we're on the better side, and so our impacts will be minimal. This is not like Francine. We were on the other side of that storm once it was approaching closer, when it made that landfall approach in Louisiana. So again, just stay updated with us as we do get closer. But here's a look at your 7-day outlook, and really those rain chances heading into tonight, they weren't high enough to put on the 7-day outlook. So I have us looking pleasant for your Tuesday, and then Wednesday and Thursday, those rain chances go up. They're about 50% Wednesday, 70% on Thursday. Those temperatures cooler, upper 70s, lower 80s because of that increased cloud cover and rain coverage. And then Friday will feel nice, mid 80s, sunny, and then a pleasant weekend. We do warm back up to a little bit above average by Saturday and Sunday. Isolated rain shower chances return Sunday into Monday, but overall our forecast is looking okay here in the Fox 10 viewing area once we get past Wednesday and Thursday. But really the biggest thing, please stay out of the water. Don't go swimming out there. During Francine, we had some folks that were swimming off the west end of Dauphin Island. Please don't do that. Again, stay out of the Gulf waters. If you see people out there, yell at them too, especially if it's double red flags, just because we don't need to be risking anything out there and putting others at risk too. So those will be the main things that we're tracking. I hope that I answered everyone's questions. But as always, in case you want to rewatch this, we'll always have it posted online. You can always go back to our Fox 10 Facebook page and also our YouTube page. In case we missed any of you all with these questions, if you're watching at a later time, you can always just message us directly on Fox 10's Facebook page or email us. And as always, we'll answer those questions for you. But again, that was the 1 p.m. advisory update for Tropical Storm Helene. No major changes to it, still keeping that same sustained wind speed. No major changes to the track either. And we will have that next advisory update coming out at 4 p.m. Chief Meteorologist Jason Smith will have that for you again at 4 p.m. But I'll be on Fox 10 Live at 3 p.m. coming up in just a little bit. I will see you all in just about, let's see, what was that, 42 minutes. We'll see you all then.